What is up, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. We are on a remote coastline and we are going to send it for day 2 over here in this epic Bahama remote island expedition. Guys, it's the same deal. We're going to be selective. We're going to be using primitive gear. So you guys will be able to see the true strength of some of these fish and also see the incredible structure of what they call home. But we're going to hop in that boat and we are going to send it to some reef, and I'm taking you guys with me. Alright, you guys, welcome back underwater. So it's going to be the same deal as in part 1, but we're going to be starting off diving a little bit deeper. And we're diving these really big coral heads, and when I first jump in, I see a giant cubera off to the left side of the stream. You can kind of see him cruising in to the reef, and I know that this is his cave. He wants to go back to his cave and his home, and so I kind of decided to make a drop, first drop of the day, post up down there, and I'm kind of acting like I'm taking over his territory. And one thing I've noticed with these cuberas, they're very territorial, but they're also a very delicious fish, but just really hard to spear altogether. But I make a drop, go down there, kind of do a little grunting, do a little bit of scratching, hoping that he comes in, but he just has no interest. He's a little too smart, a little too wise, and he decides to kind of cruise off in the opposite direction. But me making that drop is a good thing, because when I was down there, once I got to the surface, I saw a nice hogfish come in to the reef, and it's not a bad fish to start off the day with. Make sure we get some fish in the box, because we're definitely looking for dinner, maybe some fish to take home to family and friends. So I line up on this shot, easy shot, lead him a little bit, and I just let him a hair too forward. But shooting this primitive gear is, if you had a gun, it would take a while to reload. With this primitive gear, you can reload. I'm taking my time on this shot, and I lace him right in the stone shot, right through the brain, and you can see exactly in a second where that spot is, and it's right where that color meets the darker color and the lighter color on the fish, right behind the eye. And that was a perfect shot. That's what you want to have happen every time, because it's very humane and sustainable. But either way, you're going to brain the fish. And also what I do on this one is I gut him, and it ends up bringing in a nice solid yellow jack. Same reef structure. I make a drop. He's kind of on the way out, so I do a lot of grunting. Sure enough, Wilson makes a drop, and he's using a free shaft Hawaiian sling. So you got to make really good shots, just like the one he did. He didn't brain him, but he did spine him, and I've seen them come back to life really fast, and I see he has a lot of life left. So I want to get my knife out, get a knife in his brain as soon as we can.
Dude, that worked out.
And then also with these fish, you definitely want to gut them, because they do have a decent bloodline. And also, unlike the hogfish, I don't really necessarily make it a point to bleed the hogfish. I will sometimes, but they usually hardly have any blood in their meat, so it's usually kind of pointless in my opinion. But you guys can do whatever you want. So we go to a shallower area, and this is kind of a little bit of a fail clip. But I am targeting mangroves at this spot. I'm looking for, grouper or something like that, but a nice mangrove gives me a shot right before he turns the corner. But these guys are really hard to get on sling because their meat is so delicate. I chased this guy down, tried to find him, but he went into some cave, and unfortunately I didn't get him. But shooting these mangroves really makes you a really good hunter and a really good shot with the sling. So here's another clip of me, same thing, hunting some mangroves, but I end up turning the sling into somewhat of a pole spear. And the way you do that is you grab the wooden dowel on the sling, then you grab up in front of the spear, you pull it back towards the wooden dowel just a little bit, and then you pinch the shaft. So it kind of has it spring loaded, ready to shoot, and then whenever you see the fish inside of the cave like that, you let go of the shaft, and it just shoots just forward enough to get penetration. And sometimes if it's a bigger fish, I'll give us an extra push, but this allows you to get fish in close quarters with the Hawaiian sling, especially since you can't just swap in and out. Usually the fish is gone by that point. And same thing, I choke up on the knife to brain these fish because they're a little harder to brain, a little smaller of a spot, and choking up on the knife is a good idea. But yeah, this is really all that we have. We only have a yellow jack, couple hogs, and then so I decided to make sure we secure dinner. And I'm not a fan of shooting Nassau's, but there were a ton of them around here, so I decided to pluck one of them, make sure it was a really good shot. I was going for the stone shot, but either way, a good headshot is a good shot. Get a hold of the fish, and we're not going to struggle for dinner for sure after this fish. So the day is winding down, and we kind of are pecking around these reefs where the turtle grass meets the reef, and that's where all the hogfish are at. And we're going from one to the other, making quality shots on solid fish and only plucking probably one per reef, and then just moving to the next. And we're getting some really good fish for the freezer and for our families. And so this next shot is another prime example of using these primitive spears and the fact that you can reload and you can chase your fish. I make a drop on this hogfish. And granted, spear guns definitely have more range, a little more accuracy than slings and pole spears, but the fact that you can shoot a fish, grab your spear, continue to follow the fish without having to take your eyes off of the fish, which is exactly what I do in this instance, it goes to show that, you know, these things are very effective, especially around hogfish. I see where this guy rocks up. I come loaded up, ready to go, hoping he pokes his head out. And sure enough, at the top of the screen, he pokes his head out, and I land a shot right before he takes off, and a solid shot right through the face. I know that shot's going to hold really well, and having that line attached to the sling really helps because I'm able to pull the fish back, use a little less effort to solidify this fish. So now we go to a little bit deeper, a little more cave structure. There's a Nassau, so like I said, they're very prevalent around here. There were a ton everywhere. Let that guy, you know, kind of just swim along. And the funny part about this clip, I'm looking around, I didn't realize my GoPro was on, and I see a solid hogfish, and I go to turn my GoPro on, but I shut it off. I sat there, waited for this fish, waited for my GoPro to turn on. This fish just kind of started to swim away. It was a really good hogfish. Landed not a good shot, and I knew it. So I was giving him as much slack as I could. I tried to get a hold of the fish before it was too late, but he ended up wrenching off the spear. But same thing, I grab my sling at the top of the screen. He kind of goes into this area. I don't see him come out, so I know he's probably in this cave somewhere, and it's time for me to make a drop to put the second and final blow in the fish. So I go down, and this is the same deal. I turn this thing into a pole spear because we're going into close quarters. It's not, you know, open range, and I kind of load it up right there. Check that hole. I kind of see a little bit of him, and I know that that wasn't a good angle, so I go to get a different vantage point on him. I went to shoot, and I landed it right inside the fish, but I realized he has a lot of life left, and I don't know how deep that shaft has gone, and I didn't want to take any chances, so I reached in, grabbed a hold of the fish, and once you get your hands on the fish, get your hands in the gills, you know the fish is yours, and then the next step would be to brain it. And pretty stoked on this beautiful, big, solid Bahamian hogfish, and that's what it'll take to end the day, is ending on a nice fish like that.
Yeah, horrible first shot.
Oh wow. Good follow-up.
Yeah. Whew.
All right, you guys, I hope you loved that. We didn't absolutely crush it, but I loved being selective, getting exactly what we needed for dinner. And now we are gonna steam home, and we're gonna cook that stuff up. And I will see you guys next week for day 3 of this epic adventure. If this is your first time checking out this channel, be sure to check out some of my other videos. Like this video, subscribe if you're not already, and I'll see you guys next week for day 3 on this epic adventure. Later.